Yeah. Joining us now with his take, John Bolton, former U.S. ambassador to the United Nations and a Fox News contributor. Of the president's quote to Medvedev, you have been quoted as saying that there is huge cause for concern here, Mr. Ambassador. What do you mean?
Well, this is a fire bell in the night, this comment by Obama. The only flexibility that he can be talking about, and I think you could see Medvedev understood it perfectly, is giving away more from the American position on missile defense and more broadly on security issues. For the president to try and say today, as he did, that you can't get something complicated starting in an election year is just dissembling. Obviously, he's saying to Medvedev and the Russian government generally, just wait until after the election's over, and then I can give way on points that I would be harshly criticized for in the United States if I surrendered them before the election.
What about Jay Carney's comment that Al-Qaeda is more of a problem for the United States and groups like it than, say, the Russian government?
Well, maybe he should talk to the president more often. You know, if you listen to President Obama, having killed Osama bin Laden, Al-Qaeda is not a threat anymore. It's just a small group of people on the Pakistani side of the Afghan border, nothing to worry about there. You know, we're going to negotiate with the Taliban, let them back into power in Afghanistan. Al-Qaeda worldwide has been broken. I think Mr. Carney needs to talk to his boss. But in fact, Romney's dead on right. Russia still has the most massive nuclear weapons capability of any other country on earth. And with incoming President Putin, by the way, a former president of Russia, not somebody who, as our president implied, had to come back up to speed. It is a real threat. And that's why when you hear the president again giving way on American missile defense, defending our homeland, that's why I say it's a fire bell in the night. This is something that verges on the irresponsible for a president of the United States to say that to another world leader.
Well, and I wondered if you asked the former Soviet state of Georgia how they feel about the Russians after Russia moved in and attacked them several summers ago and obliterated so much of that country, you know, how they feel about Russia and its taste for freedom.
Well, exactly, and you'll recall in August of 2008 when the Russians did invade, then candidate Obama called on both the Georgians and the Russians, called on both sides to exercise restraint. That's like saying to the kid on the ground when the schoolyard bully is pounding them that both of those kids ought to exercise restraint. This is a signal of weakness by our president, a very revealing, obviously candid comment that he didn't think anybody else was going to overhear, that our adversaries around the world will understand as a sign of weakness, and our friends will worry about. Again, I tell you, this is a real fire bell in the night. The White House is not going to wish this one away.
When it comes to things like missile defense and even the size of our nuclear arsenal, I mean, the president has said that he wants to drastically reduce the size of our nuclear arsenal. Are those the kinds of things he could push through in a second term? Without maybe, without having to answer to the voters, certainly, and maybe without necessarily heeding Congress?
Well, there are lots of indications that the president has already decided to take exactly that route to avoid the treaty mechanism and Senate, the requirement, constitutional requirement for Senate approval. And this is something that in the national security field, where the Constitution obviously gives the president primacy, he'll have a lot of discretion. But honestly, I'd worry about it in the domestic sphere as well, where he has already shown a preference for executive orders. I think this is the lesson of what happens if he gets reelected.
Ambassador John Bolton, a Fox News contributor, thank you.
Thank you.